My name is Jack Haggins. I've never believed in ghosts until I came toe-to-toe with one. So, I set out on a journey to record what I once witnessed onto video, along with my good friend Rick Coe, and a guy we met at Taco Bell, Darren Baldwin. Together, we will travel to the most creepiest, craziest, and spookiest places in the state, in an attempt to capture evidence of the paranormal. These are our ghost ventures. That was the intro to our ghost hunting web series. Yeah, I know it sounds a lot like the other ghost hunting shows on the cable network, but that's strictly coincidental. It's a good show. Well, at least it used to be. Anyway, hi, my name is Jack. I was the lead investigator for the Ghost Ventures crew. And if you noticed I said was. We don't hunt ghosts anymore. Hell, we don't even talk anymore. And I'll tell you why. Let me sum it all up in one word. And that word is Barnaby's. Yeah, that place is off the charts. Now, I've never been to Penhurst or Povergelly Island, but I've seen those episodes, and Barnaby's has to go right up the rank with those two. I mean, anyone that would step foot in that place, willingly, would need to have their head examined. Twice. We've done investigations at abandoned schools, run-down churches, a couple cemeteries, and even falling down dilapidated buildings. We've caught EVPs, felt phantoms in cool spots, and had some personal experiences, but nothing like what we experienced at Barnaby's. Now, as part of the agreement we made with Mr. Barnaby when we investigated that place, was that if any weird or strange things happened, we'd write them down in a story form and give it to him, in exchange for letting us investigate the store for free. That place messes with my head so much that it took me 3 years and a hell of a lot of therapy just to be able to even write this. But I will remember that night vividly until the day I die. So here goes. I'll mail this to him later. I first found out about that place through a conversation with my neighbour. Apparently, my neighbour's daughter's ex-boyfriend's sister got a dog from a guy that worked at the ASPCA, and Barnaby's as well. But that's a different story. Anyway, they became friends, and he told her all about the crazy stuff that happened at Barnaby's, and she told her brother, he told my neighbour's daughter, my neighbour's daughter told her father, and her father told me. Did you follow all that? Good. I did some research and found out that, yes, there was a very old grocery store called Barnaby's a few towns over. Newspaper articles revealed that all kinds of horrible events and freak accidents happened at that store, and that store was built on an Indian burial ground. That's what got me interested in investigating this place. Sure, we've investigated cemeteries before, but Indian burial grounds, that's on a whole different level. I looked the place up on Google Maps, got a phone number, and directions to the store. I called the phone number and talked to a very nice man named Pat, who graciously agreed to let us come and investigate his store that Saturday night at 9. Pat agreed to meet us Saturday afternoon to do some interviews, and to get some pictures to use in the show. I called Rick and Darren, and told them that I found an old grocery store to investigate. I didn't, however, mention the Indian burial ground thing. They were excited and looking forward to going. Saturday came. Darren borrowed his aunt's minivan, as he always did, since none of us actually got a car. He picked up Rick, and we all met back at my house before heading to the store. Now, we were in no way a professional ghost hunting team. We didn't have any real equipment, like the big name teams do. We used our old iPhone 5s as cameras, using a night vision app to also use it to capture EVPs. That's it. For those of you that don't know what an EVP is, it stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. It's believed to be voices of spirits speaking to the living, unintentionally, meaning a random word or phrase spoken for no apparent reason, or intentionally, such as someone asking a question and the spirit responding with an answer. But be careful, because some spirits are not always nice. Anyway, we all hopped into the van and made the hour drive to Barnaby's. Just as we were pulling into the parking lot, Out of the corner of my eye, I saw 3 little Native American boys, about 8 or 9 years old, standing on the sidewalk, outside of the store. I turned around and told Rick to get a shot of it. He replied, "A shot of what?" I turned back round, and they were gone. "No frickin' way. They were right there," I said, pointing to the sidewalk. "Who?" Darren asked. I just shook my head. "Never mind, forget about it," I mumbled. We parked the van and got out. If I knew then what I know now, I would have got back into that van and never stepped foot in that store. I walked over to the spot where I saw the kids and found 3 small eagle feathers on the ground. I was totally freaked out at this point. I just left them there. Rick and Darren went to knock on the door. Soon after, an older man emerged from inside the store and introduced himself as Pat. We all shook hands and introduced ourselves too. I told Pat about the 3 kids that I saw, and he started tapping his toe and clapping his hands, and said, "1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians." You know, that old children's nursery rhyme. Then he chuckled to himself. Okay then, I thought. This guy's a few sandwiches short of a picnic, I think. We conducted our interview, and he told us about all the crazy things that happened there, and gave us some history on the place. He also told us that the store was being remodeled, and to be careful of hanging wires, loose floorboards and things like that. Also that the electric had to be shut off, since it was the weekend, and that the construction crews would not be back till Monday. He offered to let us go inside and look around to get familiar with the place, but we wanted to wait until our investigation, the element of surprise and all that. We ended the interview at about 5 p.m, and he handed me a key to the store, just in case. We still had a couple of hours before it was time for us to investigate, so we decided to go and see a movie. We passed a movie theatre on the way there, and we decided to head there. The new Stephen King movie was out. I am a huge Stephen King fan. I have all of his movies, most of his books, and a lot of his short stories on audiobook. Anyway, we met a very nice and a very attractive, if I might add, lady named Catherine at the movie theatre. We told her that we were investigating Barnaby's that night, and we asked if she knew anything about the place. She told us that she was the previous owner of the property, but that's a different story, and that now she was the assistant manager. Well, as soon as it opens back up again anyway. We offered to have her come and investigate with us, but she declined, saying that she didn't want to spend any more time in that place than she had to. Now I understand why she said that. When the movie was over, it was a great movie, by the way. I'll have to add it to my DVD collection when it comes out. We headed back to the store for our investigation. We arrived back at the store just as a thunderstorm was fast approaching, and Pat was nowhere to be found. I thought that was a little odd, but we found a note on the door saying he had to tend to an issue at a property he'd just sold. The note also said that it was okay to start investigating. I pulled the key out of my pocket, took the note down, unlocked the door, turned the night vision apps on, and went to enter the building. Just as I opened the door, a loud lightning crash hit, lighting up the skies and scaring the hell out of all 3 of us. Heavy rain started falling soon after. We practically pushed each other into the store. Once inside, that place was creepy as hell. The air was thick and heavy, almost suffocating. The floor cracked every time you stepped on it, and half the walls were put up. The other half were just wooden beams. Wires were hanging from the ceiling, and construction equipment was just laying everywhere. We walked around together for about an hour, just filming and getting a feel for the place. Nothing really happened. We found out that there were 3 main parts to the building: the sales floor, the back room, and a little room just off the back room. The bathrooms were boarded up, and we couldn't even get in there. So we decided, since there were 3 areas, and there were 3 of us, that we would each investigate a place by ourselves. We did rock, paper, scissors to figure out who went where. Darren got the little room, Rick got the back room, and I got the sales floor. "Okay guys," I said, "let's do this." We fist bumped each other and went to our designated areas. I began walking around the sales floor, filming and asking questions. I could hear Rick in the back room doing the same. This went on for about half hour, when suddenly another lightning strike, just as we heard Darren screaming at the top of his lungs, then loud thumping of his work boots as he ran through the back room and out onto the sales floor. "Oh no. No, 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 no," he said loudly. "Darren! Darren, stop!" I yelled. "What happened?" Rick came running out shortly after. "What the hell, man?" Rick said. "He almost ran me over." Darren turned to look at Rick. You could tell that he was scared. "What happened?" I said again. I was in there, asking questions and panning the camera around the room, when I saw an old Indian guy just standing in the corner. I focused the camera on him and asked, "Who are you?" He raised a tomahawk and charged at me. I thought he was going to kill me. I dropped my phone and got the hell out of there. "Wait a minute," I said. "What's that smell?" "That scared the shit out of me," Darren said. "Literally." "Dude, you shit yourself?" Rick said. "Shut up," Darren replied. "Screw this, I'm out of here. I'll be in the van." He then stormed out of the front door. I looked at Rick, and he looked at me. Just then, another loud lightning crash. "I'll go get the phone," Rick said, as he ran off towards the back room. He returned shortly after and handed me the phone. It was still recording, and luckily it wasn't broken. I stopped the recording, and we reviewed the video, and sure enough, there was an old Indian in the corner who charged at the camera. The phone then fell to the floor face down, with the camera shooting upwards. That same Indian was seen leaning over the lens, staring into the camera, then just disappeared. We caught an EVP, but we couldn't understand what you were saying. "What's up with the Indian?" Rick asked. "Yeah, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier," I said. "But this place is built on Indian burial grounds." "What?" he asked. "Are you crazy? Cemeteries are one thing, but I ain't messing with no Indian spirits. Here's my phone. I'm out," he said. "Fine," I yelled. "I'll do it myself." The slamming of a door was heard soon after. I put both phones in my pocket and began to walk around, asking questions. I did this for about 15 minutes when another lightning strike hit, and all the security lights came on, blinding me through the night vision. "There's no electric in this place," I thought. "What the hell is going on?" The lights began to flash like a strobe light on crack. The entire building began to shake, causing me to fall back against a large piece of machinery. A low humming sound could be heard. That soon turned into what sounded like a drumming. I began to hear Indian war cries in my head. Not my ears, but my head. I grabbed my head and screamed, "I'm not afraid of you." Suddenly, through the walls and the floors came transparent images of about 25 Native Americans on horses, screaming and swinging their tomahawks at me. "Okay, now I'm afraid of you," I thought. "They're trying to kill me." I could feel the breeze of the tomahawk swings as they barely missed my head. I screamed like scared little schoolgirls and started running towards the door. I then slipped on one of those loose floorboards and fell, face first, to the ground, knocking myself unconscious. I woke up about 3 hours later, on the sidewalk somehow, drenched from all the rain. It was 3:17 in the morning, the witching hour. The clock at the bank across the street told me that. I slowly get to my feet, looked over to my right, and saw the same 3 little Indian boys standing there, just like before. They were completely dry, even in the pouring rain. I screamed again and ran to the other side of the building to get in the van, but it was gone. They left me there, and I never saw those guys again. In retrospect, honestly, I don't blame them. Another lightning strike scared me half to death, So much that I began to run, screaming down the middle of the road. Thankfully, there were no cars out that late. I finally stopped running and screaming and called my neighbour. He was kinda upset, for obvious reasons, but he agreed to come and get me. I waited across the street at the bank until he showed up. That was a fun ride home. Anyway, I mailed the key back to Pat. Now, after that night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. All I kept thinking about those Indians attacking me. I saw them everywhere I went, out of the corner of my eye, at work, at the gym, hell, even in my own house. I called a therapist about a week later, and I've been seeing her 3 times a week for the past 3 years. I didn't even look at any of the footage. I just threw all the phones away, and I never ghost hunted again. I just couldn't do it after that. I heard that Darren got a job as a camera operator for the UFC, and is making a pretty good living at it. And I heard that Rick took up plumbing, continued to ghost hunt, and just put another team together. And he's got a sweet television deal on a cable network. Good for him. And me, well, I just moved into my new apartment. My neighbour's name is Nick, but that's a different story.